Hello friends, in this session I will be talking about .NET Framework Fundamentals and its architecture. The topic today I am going to discuss is CLR, Common Language Runtime. Let's begin with it. CLR is the infrastructure which provides compilation and execution for .NET code. CLR is also considered as the heart of entire .NET Framework infrastructure. CLR works only with managed code. In other words, you can also say that CLR works only with the code written by a .NET compliant programming language like VB.NET, C#, F#, C++.NET, and many other programming languages which are .NET compliant today. Now let's see what actually happens when we start writing code in .NET and what is CLR execution model looks like. To begin with, first thing is that you have to code your source code, and your source code can be in one of the .NET compliant language like C#, VB.NET, or C++.NET. What happens when you write your source code in any of these programming languages? You have to compile your code. So each language has its own dedicated compiler for individual programming language. Now once your code is compiled, it is converted into an intermediate language, also known as assembly language or MSIL. MSIL stands for Microsoft Intermediate Language. Now this is the layer which you accomplished, known as managed code. Hence, your source code is not converted into an assembly until it is being compiled. The similar thing applies to VB.NET and similar thing applies to C++.NET or any other programming language you might be working with. Next step is, once your managed code or IL is ready, next step is to pass it on to common language runtime during execution. Now this common language runtime has another compiler inside it which is known as JIT compiler or just-in-time compiler. Many people pronounce it as JIT. JIT is just a way to pronounce JIT. The name itself says just-in-time because it executes and compiles only the code or functionality which your UI is asking for. Means it does not pre-compile entire source code in the assembly. Now JIT compiler is the main piece of CLR infrastructure which converts your assembly code into the native code. And that native code is passed to the operating system for execution, and this is how you see your .NET programs running and executing. Now we talked only here about managed code. What if I have some unmanaged code? How does that work normally? Now let's say you have any unmanaged component. Consider a language like C++ or VB or C. Now what happened in those programming language, the moment you compile, they are directly converted into the native code to be executed on the operating system. So this is the difference between a normal .NET code and any unmanaged component. So this is the session I covered on CLR execution model. In next coming sessions I will be talking more about internal architecture. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for listening.